Bob Marley was the most famous reggae singer in the world. He was the king of reggae.
I wanna love you and treat you right. It's this love, it's this love, it's this love, it's this love that I'm feeling.
He became well known for composing songs that convey messages of peace, love, freedom, resistance, and also address political and social issues.
Africa, unite, 'cause we're moving right out of Babylon.
Bob Marley had a reputation as a visionary when he was a child. He used to read people's palms and accurately predict many things. He also made predictions for himself, and 2 of them were spot on. At the age of 7, he predicted he would become a famous musician, and at 24 years old, he predicted he would die at 36. Bob Marley was born in 1945 in the rural area of Jamaica, in a village called 9 Mile. The place became extremely famous because of him and turned into a tourist attraction managed by the Marley family. Visitors to the area might even run into a Marley family member wandering around the village. He was the son of Norval Sinclair Marley, a white Jamaican with English ancestry and a British Navy captain, and a young black woman named Cedella Booker. When Bob was born, his father was already 50 years old, and his mother was just 18. Bob didn't have a close relationship with his father. The last time he saw him, he was only 5 years old. Although his father was absent, he at least provided financial support. When Bob was 10, his father passed away, and he and his mother faced many difficulties. Sometime later, his mother married a man named Livingston, who was the father of his legendary friend Torres, who went on to become one of the world's most famous hood. In his early years, he endured a lot of bullying in the community. The other kids made fun of him, partly because he was the smallest in the group and also because he had lighter skin than the others due to being the child of a black woman and a white man. Perhaps this rejection fueled his desire to help the oppressed, which he did a lot of when he became rich and famous. At the age of 14, he dropped out of school because he only cared about music. So his mother warned him, "If you don't want to study, you'll have to work so you don't become a criminal."
I know my father, my mother worked 30 shillings a week to keep me go to school, right? We don't have education, we have inspiration. If I was educated, I would be a damn fool.
He then got a job as a welder, but he never lost his focus on music. After work, he joined forces with Bain and Peter to take singing lessons from the famous Henriquez, who offered free lessons to the community. He and Bonnie also learned to play the guitar from Peter. And thus, they studied music, improved their skills, performed in church, on the streets, until they achieved their long-awaited Jamaican success. His partnership with Kong didn't last long. In fact, he was responsible for launching the first work of another Jamaican legend.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone.
After his experience with Kong, Marley joined Bain and Peter to form a group which had various names before settling on the Wailers. The group started by playing ska, a rhythm originating from Jamaica, and eventually transitioned to reggae by the late 1960s. In 1971, the group signed a contract with a record label, and from then on, they began to achieve international success. When the group finally achieved success, their relationships changed significantly and disagreements escalated. As they no longer agreed on many things, Bain and Peter decided to leave. So, Marley pursued a solo career and started performing under the name Bob Marley, both with the group and as a solo artist. He released many unforgettable hits.
It's a right. It's this love, it's this love, it's this love, it's this love that I'm feeling. We're jamming, and I hope you like jamming too. Live if you wanna live, Rastaman, vibration, yeah. Pass it. One love, one heart. No woman no cry. No woman no cry.
Marley sold over 75 million records worldwide and became a global icon in the 1970s.
No woman no cry.
In other words, he not only gained worldwide fame, but also became a millionaire. Consequently, he bought a mansion in Jamaica, which is now a museum in his honor. He also bought a BMW, where the three letters of the brand coincided with the name of his band, Bob Marley and the Wailers. But despite his success and wealth, he didn't forget about the poor. He helped around 4,000 families and often struggled to make ends meet.
What do you do with the money that you make? Do you take it back to Jamaica? Do you give it to the people?
I give it away.
You give all your money away?
All the time, yeah.
How do you survive?
Oh, Rastafari is God.
Speaking of Rastafari, he embraced this religion and became one of its most prominent advocates worldwide. Additionally, he advocated for the legalization of ganja, which is considered a holy sacrament in the religion and is experienced spiritually. As a result of his stance, he was arrested several times for being caught with marijuana in 1976. During that time, Jamaica was going through one of its worst political and social crises. The country was virtually controlled by drug traffickers and gunmen. Gang warfare on the streets of the capital, Kingston, led to more than 100 deaths. Furthermore, the population suffered from food shortages because supplies weren't reaching the markets. It was a period of general elections, with Michael Manley seeking re-election as Prime Minister and Edward Seaga as his rival. In the midst of this turmoil, Bob Marley, who was adored by the people and seen as a spiritual leader, was persuaded by the government to perform a free concert in the capital to promote peace. However, some extremists rejected this idea and accused Marley of campaigning for the then Prime Minister. On December 13, 1976, just 2 days before the concert, while Marley and his band were preparing to rehearse, 7 armed men stormed into the Reggae King's home, firing shots in all directions. They fired about 80 shots. Despite suffering serious injuries, both he and his wife Rita, as well as his manager Don Taylor, miraculously survived without any fatalities. The gunmen fled and were never found. Even though he was wounded and had bandages, Marley performed the concert 2 days later in front of 80,000 people. Shortly thereafter, he left the country and moved to London, citing increased threats to his safety. In 1978, he returned to Jamaica and held a historic concert where he brought the two rival politicians onto the stage to shake hands and symbolize peace. The following year, he was awarded the Third World Peace Medal. Bob was a fervent football fan since childhood and a big fan of Pelé. In Brazil, he supported Santos and was also passionate about the Brazilian national team. His only visit to Brazil was in 1980, but he was unable to perform due to not obtaining a work visa. Instead, he had the opportunity to explore Rio de Janeiro and play a friendly soccer match with some artists, including Chico Buarque and Moreira. In 1977, he injured his left big toe during a football match in London, and the nail fell off. The wound didn't heal properly, and a dark spot appeared on the toe. When examined by a doctor, he was diagnosed with melanoma, a type of cancer. It's important to note that the initial injury wasn't related to the melanoma. The issue was that Marley's body had a predisposition to this disease. The medical recommendation was to amputate the toe, but he refused due to his Rastafarian beliefs that the body should remain unaltered. He also feared that his energetic stage movements would be compromised, especially since he was at the peak of his career. Time passed, and in 1980, he collapsed while jogging in New York's Central Park. He was taken to the hospital, where it was discovered that the cancer had spread to his liver, lungs, and brain. After his final concert in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, he underwent intensive treatment. For 8 months, he received treatment from the German naturopath Joseph Issels. He converted to Christianity, changed his religion, and shaved his head. However, it was already too late. The doctor had given up hope. He decided to return to Jamaica to spend his final days with his family. Unfortunately, he fell seriously ill during the journey and had to be hospitalized in Miami, where he eventually passed away on May 11, 1981, at the age of 36. Bob left behind 11 children from 7 different women and adopted 2 more from a previous relationship of his wife Rita. His final words to his son were, "Money can't buy life." His body was taken back to Jamaica, where he received a state funeral and was laid to rest in 9 Mile, the place of his birth. This was the life of Bob Marley, the king of reggae.